a big hand for Ibrahim, Managing Director of Portland Design London. And Mr. Ibrahim, you do travel the globe. Maybe you can tell me what really struck you, what really inspired you, what are the latest, from the latest insights, what really sort of got you excited?
I'll try and avoid talking about London for a start.
Okay.
I think the new 8410 store in Berlin, the T-Mobile store, is very inspiring. I think
what's inspiring?
It's a mobile phone store which is more like a lounge. It's mixed category. It's a social space. It's very interesting. Similar kind of environment, but not based on mobile, is something called True Urban Park in Bangkok. True Urban Park. If you look at that online, it's really interesting.
What can we buy in True Urban Park?
That's the point. You can buy almost anything, from flowers to coffee to books to music to internet access to fashion. It's breaking down categories, and we'll talk about that later, but I think that is a sign forward. And the last one, second to last one, is Endosa, E-N-D-O-S-A, in Sao Paulo. Very interesting retail. The retailer has divided his store into all the walls, all four walls are pigeonholes, are squares, and he rents out each square for a different brand or a different maker, and you pay for that niche.
What can you put there for? How big is the niche?
They vary from 1 meter square to 2 meter square to small. Mm-hmm. It's accessories, jewelry, anything.
So if you're an artist, you want to sell a painting, you
That's
can
right.
rent.
The key thing, though, is that the retailer is a curator. He decides what sells, what's good, what's bad. Okay. And it's very interesting. And as your sales decrease, you go further back in the store. Mm-hmm. So it's a very interesting concept. And finally, just to say one thing that we have done, which is Diageo, which is a brand immersion shop, connoisseurship about liquor in the transit area of Dubai Airport. It's been open for a month, and they're looking at 3 times the average spend of the other liquor stores in the airport.
Okay.
So some interesting things. It's called Emporium. Have a look at it.
Floor is yours.
Is that okay? Thank you very much. I'm often accused or kind of questioned about giving talks and sort of walking away from a presentation and people not knowing exactly what Portland do. So I'm just going to say very quickly that we are a design business, and we go from insights and research through to brand development, retail design, shop design and shopping centres. And our mantra is people and places, not buildings and spaces. So just to hammer home that we're in the storytelling business, that's what we say. And just to say that, very quickly, we design stores. And a whole mixture of stores right across the world, across category. Single category, multi-category, airports, high streets. And we also work for brands, working on children's entertainment and brands in retail. Now, I purposely went through that very quickly. It's all on the website. I'm not going to talk to you about Portland. I'm not here to sell Portland's work. I'm not going to talk to you, as I say, about our work. What I am going to talk to you today is about love. Not that kind of love, or that kind of love, or that kind of love. A bit of that kind of love. And a tiny bit of that kind of love. I'm going to talk to you about, with Tomorrow's Shopper and Tomorrow's Shopping, how brands and retailers can create an emotional dimension with their customers. Shifting from transaction to interaction, and from interaction to intimacy. How do we achieve customer intimacy? Don't forget, intimacy is remembered long after performance and benefits have faded away. Delivering beyond merely how a product or how a store performs, from performance to pleasure. beyond branding as we know it, from branding to bonding, not just about logos everywhere in retail. The time has come to reimagine the future of shopping, and as Kevin Roberts said, stores will host the next creative revolution as they become theatres of dreams. And stores will have to rethink their roles, and shopping will no longer be about stores, it will be about stories, where customers will turn their attention to those brands with a story. Shifting from brands talking to, and worse, at customers, to engaging in a dialogue. And as Mark Gobet said, in the stores of tomorrow, buying will be outmoded as a sterile activity. And in its place will stand the art of shopping, which is less about purchasing and more about experiencing and immersing a customer into your brand. The art of shopping. Moving from passive consumption to active participation beyond the product. Shifting, if you can, from selling product to selling product plus. What is the plus? It's the thing, the service, the software that creates the intimacy. And as Mark Gobet said, there are 10 essential shifts to achieve, to shift from transaction to interaction to intimacy. From consumers to people, consumers buy, people live. From product to experience, products just fulfill needs, experiences fulfill desires. I mean, Apple, and I just want to say there's a rule that every presentation has got to have an Apple slide in it, and that's my slide. Apples have shifted from selling equipment, selling hardware, to selling an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem, so it's a whole kind of system around a community. From honesty to trust. Honesty is a good hygiene factor. It's absolutely expected. And in this new transparent world, it's absolutely expected. Trust is engaging, and it needs to be earned. From quality to preference. Again, quality is a hygiene factor. Preference creates the sale. Now, I would suggest that Debenhams and John Lewis have good quality. We expect good quality product. But John Lewis, for some reason, has preference. It's much more successful. Why is that? Because it has a dialogue. It has much more interaction and intimacy with its customer. It's not just about having awareness. It's about having meaning. It's not about having your brand and your logos and your shops everywhere. It's about having a personality, moving from identity to personality. And I would suggest that American Airlines has a very strong identity, but Virgin has a real personality. From function to feel. It's moving from things that are practical and benefit-driven to sensory experiences. Again, Lush has a really, really sensory, intimate kind of experience with its customers. It's not just about being everywhere. It's about having presence. Again, I think Starbucks and McDonald's, a few years ago went through this, where they were absolutely everywhere. Some Starbucks, there are 2 and 3 Starbucks in one high street. They lost the relevance. They lost that emotional connection. They lost that intimacy with their customers, a real understanding of what customers need in their lives as they change. And as Mark Gobet said, it's about quality, not quantity, where quantity just becomes about territory, instead of focus on an inventive way of making real and lasting connection. And lasting is an important word. FC UK had real connection, but it was such a kind of passing trend, it suddenly lost that intimacy with its customers. Again, I said earlier on, it's not about communication, it's about dialogue. From service to relationship. Everyone expects service. What is the relationship? So as shopping polarizes further and further from functional to recreational, we start to break down what we mean by recreational shopping. One is emotionally engaging, about storytelling, whether it's talking about the provenance of your product and your service, or whether it's inspiring customers to decorate their home, or indeed a retailer as installation here in Selfridges. Or is it about social grouping and social relationships or brand tribes? La Fromagerie, where you can share the passion of cheese, buy cheese, have it with wine, understand what is it about cheese and the way it's perfected against particular wines. Or indeed, 200,000 female members of Home Depot Club learning about DIY with kids clubs about DIY safety. Or indeed, the Samsung experience where you actually don't buy anything. This is about pure brand tribes, people getting together, not about buying the brand, but buying into the brand. So it's shifting, as Mariam Saltzman said in her book, This Next, very good book, Mindsets to Merchandise. Sorry, mindsets, not merchandise. It's about mindsets, not about just merchandise. So as we increasingly live wired digital lives, we crave compensatory human contact and intimate experiences. There's a shift to authenticity, whether it's about provenance, whether it's about sensory markets. There's no accident. There's been a massive growth in markets, in charity shops, in vintage stores, in flea markets. These are growing. There's a natural requirement and need for these things. A return to craft, back to honesty, artisanship, quality, and nostalgia. There's a growth in transit experiences, things that are always changing and moving. The Rafa store, which is a cycling brand, cycling fashion brand. You should check this out, Rafa. It's a really great apparel brand for cycling, but they opened a brand store, a community store for community of cyclists, urban cyclists. Or Prada Transformer store by Rem Koolhaas. How this moves around the globe with different events and different experiences. Or Veuve Clicquot, recycled packaging, create these events. There's lots. Prada, Alice in Wonderland Group, Vitamin Water, pop-up store. I can go on and on about transient experiences. Now, we've looked at this idea of fourth space. We know about third space, the space between home and work, the basic strategy that Starbucks was based on. Well, we've investigated and explored this idea of fourth space and what is the fourth space. Well, we think it's something to do with soft space, something to do with space that is programmable, that changes and is digitized. This is a restaurant in Australia which is made up of boxes full of the herbs they use in the kitchen. Famous Illy Container Store. These ideas of these programmable, shiftable experiences that are always changing and keeping customers excited. Or hybrid spaces, the examples I used earlier on. Breaking down categories, breaking down traditional categories and responding to how people really want to spend their time. Not just shopping. You know, customers, we always say in Portland, our mantra is citizen first. People are citizens first, then they become customers. We treat them like citizens, treat them as though we know what they want in their daily life. Shops are becoming more and more like public space. So we've got to understand how customers behave. And this is the example of, I mentioned earlier on about True Urban Park, really breaking down categories and creating wonderful places for people to hang out and buy. So one space, many moods. Similar kind of thing in South Korea, TTL, Time to Live Studio, South Korea Telecom. Again, the same kind of breaking down categories. Laundromat in Copenhagen. This is a laundry with a coffee shop and a bookshop and a library. ING Direct in the US, it's a bank there. Obviously, you know the brand, but have created a really mixed category sort of bank with coffee and with meeting rooms and advice and books. And they also do tuition for financial management. Really interesting concept. Heinz Cafe in London. Again, the whole idea of brand immersion. And this is the store I mentioned in Berlin. If you're ever in Berlin, have a look at this store. It's quite amazing for a mobile. It's not actually branded T-Mobile, but you can see certain cues within the T-Mobile brand. And Owen and Wills in London, again, is a growing brand, mixed category, very interesting. So this is about curated consumption. Rough trade in London, record shop, DJ school, bookstore, performance space, where they have concerts. So a retailer is shifting from becoming just a retailer to a space curator. And as Mariam Salzman said, this is the era of the surprising, the spontaneous, the unplanned, and the serendipitous. Shopping by accident, shopping that people discover and come across in their day-to-day life. Customers are abandoning ubiquity, abandoning the cookie-cutter approach to retailing. And I think this has got to be the most important slide in this section here. Retailers need to stop thinking about making shopping entertaining and concentrate on making entertainment shoppable, as Hamilton South said. Recipes is a great example of this. It's in London, but it's going to be expansion through Europe, I hear. What is it? It's a delicatessen. You can buy food. You can buy cooked food, which is cooked on the premises that you can warm up at home. You can buy utensils. You can buy books. You can buy lessons to learn how to cook. It's a restaurant, so you can go there, buy the ingredients, cook and take home, buy the ingredients, cook and eat there, and be taught how to cook. Really, really interesting concept. And similar thing in Japan, ABC Studio. So making entertainment shoppable. Shirk, can we just have this? This is a restaurant in London called Inamo, and I hope it's going to work. The tables are digitized, so they're interactive, and you order the menu comes up on the table. You order what you want remotely, and once you've ordered, you can order more drinks. But then the table background changes. You can have leaves, you can have forests as your tablecloth. And once you finish eating, you can have the theatre listings in the city on the table, or you can play computer games with other tables, or you can go on Facebook. A completely digitized experience. The best thing about this restaurant, which I was actually very surprised about, the food is really good. Because quite often these things are gimmicky. The food is really good. So don't just differentiate, make a difference. And the world is turning social. If, as a business, you don't have a strategy for social, I think you'll be left behind in the next couple of years. The world is social. It's also about sharing, and it's also about conviviality. And it's also about customization. And if there's one brand that really understands customization, and I think moving forward we'll see this more and more with Lego. I'm speculating. I don't work with Lego, but I speculate. Again, could we have this, Shuk? Thank you. Bringing a digital domain into the store. Apologies for anyone that's already seen this. The box is read by a QR code and shows the child what's inside. In store. Right, now, where does that take Lego? Again, I speculate. Lego has a site that you can design your own toy. On site, send the file, and they will send you back the pieces for you to make your toy. Right. Now, as well as sharing and social, I think the next big shift in the next 5 years is something called 3D printing, where we will be able to print in our home components made of plastic just like we do on paper. Now, if there's one product that is good for that, it's Lego. So I would suggest that in the future, a Lego store would be what? Would be a design studio? Would be a manufacturing venue? So they'll have 3D printers that you will design your toy, you will print in the store, you will actually manufacture in the store and take away. So where does that leave shops? Where does it leave shopping centers? What kind of space, what kind of staff do Lego need? And we can project that forward and see how many brands produce and sell plastic-based components and how they're going to shift that plastic-based component into an intimate service. It's a long debate. I'd love to have that debate later with whoever wants to. And I have only got half an hour, so I need to shift on. But I think that is, to me, in branding, in retailing, in consumerism, in life. It's about social, and it's about this idea of 3D printing. And if you see The Economist, I think 3 weeks ago, there was a big piece on 3D printing, and it suggests that it's going to change everything we know about branding and manufacturing. Very, very interesting. So here's the site. And then we talk about mobile devices. What's going to happen? Is it online? Is it offline? Well, we talk about inline. The new generation don't distinguish between whether it's online or offline. For them, it's one and the same thing. It's about experiences. It shifts from online, shifts to offline. They're in store, out of store. They're in on off the internet, on the internet. It really is, for us old, it's about technology. For the younger generation, it's about their physiology. It's part of their life. And we refer to it as inline. It's mash up in terms of where the experience goes on and offline. So with the advent of 4G broadband, we'll have as fast connection to internet on our mobiles as we do on our computers. And that is next year. I'm not talking about sci-fi. This is next year. So what happens in store? What happens when you have a mobile phone in store that is instant, online? Where does it leave brands? Well, add to that orientation, where the mobile phone will know where you are. Add to that interactive projection, like in Inimo. I'll show you how that's going to work on mobile phones. And then you have something very exciting happening. So the internet is becoming less and less a platform of data and more a place for people. Social. I hope in 2 years you will think back and say, that guy talked about social. Shifting from links to likes, from Google to Facebook and many, many others. Foursquare, Google Latitude, Facebook Places, Goala, lots and lots more. Really interesting. Facebook have got something called Facebook Connect, where they will have Facebook embedded in websites. So whenever you're going to go and buy anything from a website, you'll have the option of doing it through a Facebook portal. So you'll be able to make your purchase social immediately. Share it, get opinions from your network. So social media is not just another channel for brands to dominate. Dell sold, and this was a year ago, Dell sold, or 2 years ago, Dell sold $3 million of computers on Twitter. So our brains want to filter the world through the lens of our extended social network. That filter may be a powerful tool for business to interact with customers, one-to-one, very intimately. Taking the social graph of a customer through a social network and creating online content customized for them. These are social utilities: gas, water, electric, social. So that brings us to fourth screen. Television, PC, mobile. What's fourth screen? It's about the clickable world. The world around us becomes the web, and the mobile, your cursor. It's about integrating and augmenting, overlaying digital information on the real world. Thank you, Shuk. Very small example. I think this is old hat now, really, but it just shows a customer pointing a mobile phone to a store, and the store's website overlaying digital information about promotions, about information about their product. This could be a POP display, this could be a brand, this could be a store, it could be a shopping center. Now let's take that one step further. If we're in this clickable world where digital information is overlaid on real world information, very quickly, thank you, Shuk. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to click through that one. Can we just stop that one? Just click through. Okay, so linking the information world to the physical world. Thank you. This one, more important. The next development is hand gesture recognition, facial recognition. This recognizes the lady's face, recognizes her gesture. She then sees a dress that her friend is buying and then wants to try it on. Okay, this is coming from gaming. but this is an application that could easily be used in a store. And then she sees what it's like, and she decides to buy it. Completely social interaction. Now, you might think that's about gaming. Well, Diesel have a Facebook-enabled digital changing room. So rethink business to be social, merging the online and the offline, building communities for your customers. Think digital, deliver analog. The analog is almost more important, but don't think of them as two separate things. It's not about multi-channel, it's about mashed up channel. This is a great example of think digital, deliver analog. Thank you, Shuk. This is Unilever developed a vending machine for ice cream. And it recognizes your face. And it only vends the ice cream if you smile. And once you've smiled, the machine takes a photograph of you, gives you your ice cream, and then you can share the photograph with your friends on Facebook. So it's a Facebook-enabled or social network-enabled vending machine that has facial recognition. And it's a traditional old vending machine. It's a vending ice cream. Very interesting. Now, I would suggest Unilever know a thing or two about what's happening with consumers in the future. And this is no accident that they've produced this. So as designers, we design verbs, not nouns. It's not about things. It's not just about finishes and lighting and fixturing. Of course we do that. That's the easy bit. We design verbs, emotions, experiences. We're shifting from crafting of environments to shaping of experiences, online and offline. And ideas are the new currency, more powerful than money alone. And don't forget, money can't buy your love. So emotionally connect with customers beyond reason, creating moments to share, shifting customers from merely being satisfied to being advocates of your brand. The old success criteria of price, variety, choice, service is a given. Everyone expects that. So new success criteria of customization, participation, authenticity, storytelling, online, offline, inline. Companies don't fail because they do the wrong things. Companies fail because they continue to do what used to be the right things for too long. And the future isn't what it used to be, as Paul Vardy said. The future is about TV you read, books you watch, and movies you touch. And I will leave you with this, and just a quick show of hands. Has anyone seen this video at the MIT about the interactive mobile phone? Because I've shown this a few times at conferences, and I'm beginning to worry that everyone has seen it. But I continue to show it because I think it's fantastic. It's MIT. They've developed this $350 prototype of a mobile phone with interactive projection. Thank you, Shuk. So the guy has got this mobile phone. It has a projector on it, which is interactive. He projects the keypad on his hand, and he makes a phone call. He then goes into a store, and he wants to buy some recycled, environmentally friendly kitchen tissue. He picks up a few brands, and with augmented reality, he has a digital information downloaded on a real product through the website, and it tells him it's environmentally friendly. So he buys it. He then goes to a bookshop. He looks at a book, and he projects the Amazon website, maybe, onto the book. It gives him the reviews. But of course, very importantly, he could buy that book on Amazon quite easily whilst he's in the bookshop. So where does that leave bookshops? Where does it leave the experience in a bookshop? What does it become? And of course, you can go on Facebook, see what other people think of this book, and share his comments. So the power has absolutely shifted to the customer. Maybe this is what Murdoch means about online, offline journalism, how you bring the two together. Projecting newspapers on themselves. This is a bit more controversial. Facebook profile on his T-shirt. Good for conferences. And finally, he's getting a taxi to the airport with his boarding pass, and there's a delay. Website of the airline from his mobile straight on there. And before he leaves, you better check what the time is. So if you think you can see the future, you're not looking far enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ibrahim. You did actually have dinner in this Inamo restaurant, didn't you?
I made all my team to go and have dinner there as well. Yeah.
Okay. What I wonder is, what happened to the human conversation? Was there any conversation left? Did you make any contact with the people sitting opposite of you at the table?
More conversation.
About the
you're
techniques.
talking about whatever's there. You're talking about, if you look at a theatre listing, you look at a review, you're online. I mean, it's much more conversation, and more importantly, it's conversation with other tables as well.
Yeah, about this new device. But was there a real conversation between two human beings? That's my big worry.
Oh, don't worry.
You
Don't
need
worry
to
about that. No, it really isn't. That is not an issue at all. I mean, I think there's lots and lots of interaction between customers.
The message is clear. It's about love. Love is the message, right?
Intimacy.
Intimacy. So you've showed these people a look into this future. But imagine there's a future customer here sitting at your table.
A future
customer of this. He or she wants to buy into this future. Where does this person need to start? What kind of attitude is needed for an average retailer to start thinking about this future and sort of opening up for your message? The message is love.
I think if you're a retailer, I think you've got to start thinking about your store as almost public space, as a social space. I think you've got to be the catalyst for bringing customers together, not just about a product on a shelf, but how do you shift that product to become a service?
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of examples. I mean, there's Kales, which is a male grooming brand that used to sell creams and shaving cream. Now they sell massage, and they sell the whole idea of learning about how you shave. It's shifted a product to a service.
But how difficult is it for the average? You just mentioned on one of your last sheets that they keep on doing things they think is successful. They keep on doing it the same way over and over again, not really opening up for this.
Yeah.
What is needed? What kind of paradigm shift is needed inside your head to open up to this?
I think absolutely that. I think the retailer's got to stop thinking about just shifting product and think about how you create that dialogue and that experience with customers. And I think part of that is online. Part of it is social networking. How you bring social networking within your store.
But these people are programmed with this question: where do I make money? How is this going to improve my business? How can I make money out of this?
Well, if we were having this conversation 3 years ago, and you asked me about bookshops or music stores, and I said to you in 3-4 years' time, those kind of stores would be dead unless they start changing the way they look at their just selling books to how they create experiences and how they create intimacy and a social environment in their store, it would be very relevant. And I think we've got to look at that example, if you're a retailer, and think, how does that example affect me? I mean, we're working with Diageo. You know, they're moving from just selling bottles. Of course, they have to sell bottles, but how are they going to sell more bottles? It isn't just about putting more bottles on the shelf. It's about creating some understanding, some connoisseurship, some learning, some experience to shift up the sales.
If I listen carefully, what I try to understand is this: is it about giving something first instead of expecting somebody to buy? So you give an experience.
It's about creating the right context. It's about curating. It's about absolutely creating the conditions, not necessarily just giving things free. No, I think it's creating the conditions.
Creating the conditions. Okay,
Yeah,
can I have a
yeah.
big hand? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ibrahim.